The 1960s gave us more than rock and roll. They gave us motorcycles with soul. Machines that weren't just fast, but bold, groundbreaking, and dripping with style. Some were smooth, others shook like jackhammers, but each left a mark some latest bikes can't erase. I've lined up 17 legends that still destroy modern bikes. And trust me, when bike number 10 rolls in, you won't believe what it did. Let's dive in. Starting at number 17 is Honda CB160. Honda launched the CB160 between 1965 and 1969. It used a 161 cubic centimeter OHC twin with roughly 16 horsepower. The lightweight frame made it nimble and fun. The affordable price opened doors to brand new riders. Back then, it sold for hardly $1,000 in the US, which made it one of the most accessible sport bikes of its time. Reliability was Honda's secret weapon. People trusted it to simply start, perfect for beginner riders and commuters. It also won hearts in club racing, and the CB160 class still runs vintage events today. Many originals survive in collectors' garages. You can find restored examples worldwide. Parts are scarce, but still available with patience. That makes it possible to keep them alive. Modern owners often upgrade for safety and usability. Electronic ignition swaps make starting easier. Disc brake conversions improve stopping power dramatically. Suspension, tires, and seals usually get modern treatments. Some even fit fuel injection kits to replace old carbs. Those upgrades keep the classic look, but make the bike more practical on today's roads. Riding one teaches real mechanical sympathy. You learn timing, carb tuning, and basic care. That knowledge builds confidence on modern machines. From a pocket rocket for beginners to a beast that could make the British Isles tremble, let's see who turns the charm into pure thunder next. Number 16 is Royal Enfield Interceptor, a British thunderstorm on two wheels. That's what the Royal Enfield Interceptor felt like when it first hit the market in 1962. With a 736 cubic centimeter parallel twin pumping out around 55 horsepower, it could blast past most rivals of its day. For a moment, Britain looked ready to take on the rising Japanese wave. The Interceptor wasn't just quick, it had style. Long tank, polished chrome, and a soundtrack that rattled windows. Riders loved its raw power and smooth cruising, but under that beauty, there were cracks. Oil leaks stained driveways. Electrical gremlins showed up uninvited. Reliability wasn't always guaranteed. Still, when it worked, it was magic. Why does it matter today? The Interceptor marked Britain's last serious push before Honda, Yamaha, and Suzuki rewrote the rules. It was the final roar before Japanese dominance swept the industry. That gives it legendary status. Fast forward to now, the Interceptor lives again. Modern versions carry fuel injection, disc brakes, and far better reliability. They keep the retro look, but add real-world usability. Old or new, the Interceptor teaches one thing. Motorcycling is about soul as much as speed. When elegance meets raw roar, the road listens. But one Italian marvel takes precision to a whole new level, revving hearts and engines alike. Number 15 is Ducati 250 Mach 1. It debuted in 1964 and ran through 1966. The engine was a 249 cubic centimeter four-stroke single. It used a bevel-driven SOHC camshaft. Output hovered around 27 to 28 horsepower. It loved to rev high for speed. Bevel gears and strong internals improved durability. Stock bikes translated easily to racers. It later helped win a production tourist trophy. Slim frame, clip-ons, and a solo seat made it look like a true race bike for the road, but it was complex to maintain. Bevel drive valve trains required specialist care. Parts were rare and expensive even then. Vibration was noticeable at high revs. Yet despite these flaws, it established Ducati's sporting identity worldwide. Collectors prize surviving Mach 1 examples. Only about 800 were made, which makes it rare and sought after. Harley riders can learn from its story. Light, precise handling matters as much as raw power. Smaller bikes teach corner speed and control. Precision engineering rewards careful tuning, not brute force. So what's the main takeaway from this legend? Maintenance and balance matter. Ride smarter, respect the machine, and it will return the favor. That's its lasting gift to riders today. Speaking of precision, what happens when reliability gets a bold, unmistakable face? A Japanese giant quietly rewrote the rules of endurance. Coming in number 14 is Kawasaki W1. The motorcycle world didn't see it coming. While Britain was still dominating with Triumphs and Birmingham's Small Arms Company, Japan quietly rolled out a machine that changed the game. It wasn't the fastest or the flashiest, but it had something riders were desperate for: reliability. The Kawasaki W1 launched in 1965, and it was a bold move for a company known mainly for smaller bikes. Powered by a 624 cubic centimeter parallel twin, making around 53 horsepower, it was essentially Japan's first big displacement motorcycle. Its DNA traced straight back to the BSA 7, which it closely resembled. Some even called it a clone. But here's the twist. While British bikes leaked oil and rattled apart, the W1 kept on running. It wasn't flawless, but it was far more dependable than most of its rivals. Riders discovered they could actually spend more time on the road than in the garage. The W1 proved something vital. Japan could build big bikes that lasted. That foundation led directly to Kawasaki's later legends like the Z1. The lesson is clear. Power means little without reliability. Build it tough, and it earns respect for decades. And while toughness won the day, one nimble innovator proved that clever engineering could leave bigger bikes eating dust in the corners. At number 13, we have Suzuki T20 Super 6. Lightweight, nimble, and full of character, it could outrun bigger machines in the twisties. It was fast, but clever, Japanese engineering at its finest. Launched in 1965, the T20 packed a 247 cubic centimeter two-stroke twin. It produced around 29 horsepower, which doesn't sound huge, but with its featherweight frame, it was lightning on the road. The real star, its 6-speed transmission. At a time when most bikes barely had 4 gears, this gave riders control and flexibility that felt revolutionary. Yes, it had its quirks. Two-stroke engines demanded constant attention. Oil mixing, carb tuning, and regular maintenance were essential. Complexity meant more things could go wrong, and reliability wasn't always guaranteed. But for those who understood it, the rewards were enormous. The T20 wasn't just imitation, it proved Japan could innovate, building machines that were light, fast, and fun. Today, vintage T20s teach riders lessons in cornering, engine feel, and precise control. It's a reminder, speed alone isn't enough. Intelligence, design, and finesse matter. Agility is fun, but sometimes the thrill is in the delicate dance of a tiny frame with a punchy twin. Can you guess who pirouettes onto the scene next? Number 12 is Yamaha YDS3. Not all thrills come from big engines. Sometimes, small bikes deliver the biggest surprises. The Yamaha YDS3 was proof. Feather light and razor sharp, it handled like a mini missile. It didn't just move, it darted, danced, and demanded respect. Under the tank, a 246 cubic centimeter two-stroke twin churned out 21 horsepower. That might sound modest, but with its tiny frame, the power-to-weight ratio was electrifying. Cornering felt instant, braking responsive, and acceleration snappy. It forced riders to be alert, engaged, and precise. This bike wasn't for gentle cruising. Its on or off nature meant you either rode hard or stayed home. Temperamental reliability added to the excitement. Miss the oil mix, and the engine would protest. Fuel consumption was high, and it drank oil like a thirsty camel. But that's what made it a true rider's machine. The YDS3 proved small bikes could thrill, excite, and teach skill. It helped shape the lightweight sport bike category and inspired generations of riders to think differently about speed. Yamaha made the top 3 of its era with ingenuity, not brute force. Debut? Early 1960s, and it still influences modern agile motorcycles today. Small and feisty as it was, there's another machine that showed brains can beat brute force. with an unusual layout that made maintenance almost meditative. At number 11, we have the Moto Guzzi V7. Introduced in the mid-1960s, the Moto Guzzi V7 was a game-changer in motorcycle engineering. This wasn't a flashy race bike, it was built to last, designed for police and military use. Durability and reliability were its hallmarks. At its heart sat a 703 cubic centimeter transverse V-twin. Unlike most bikes, it used a shaft drive, which meant less maintenance and cleaner operation compared to chains. The engine layout was unique, giving it a low center of gravity and excellent stability on long rides. Riders quickly realized the V7 was heavy. It wasn't agile or thrilling in the corners. Excitement came in the form of dependability. You could push it hard all day, and it would rarely fail. That made it ideal for patrols, long-distance touring, and even some light military tasks. The V7 wasn't just about today, it shaped Moto Guzzi's future. The V-twin platform introduced here is still the backbone of their bikes. Its lessons are simple but powerful. Reliability, longevity, and thoughtful design can outweigh sheer speed. For modern riders, it's proof that a bike doesn't have to be flashy to be legendary. But even dependability has a wild side, and one Honda stepped up to show that cutting-edge tech can be just as exciting as it is smart. Taking the 10th spot is Honda CB450. Imagine a bike that was too smart for its own good. That was the Honda CB450, famously called the Black Bomber. Japan wasn't just making small bikes anymore, they were going after the big leagues. The CB450 packed a 444 cubic centimeters DOHC parallel twin with a 180-degree crank. Back in the 1960s, this was cutting-edge technology. Riders could hit 100+ miles per hour, a speed that made British twins look old-fashioned. It felt futuristic, like straddling tomorrow. But brilliance comes with quirks. The Black Bomber shook like a jackhammer at speed. Long rides tested your endurance. Comfort? Limited. You weren't just riding, you were surviving the ride. Mirrors vibrated, bolts loosened, and the seat could punish your backside. Here's the kicker. Honda learned everything from its mistakes. Each rattle and wobble taught engineers how to build bigger, better bikes. The lessons paved the way for the legendary CB750, the bike that reshaped motorcycling forever. Speed alone isn't the whole story. Sometimes it's a little firecracker from a lesser-known corner of Europe that proves style and agility beat size every time. Number 9 is Bultaco Metralla. Spain wasn't known for motorcycles yet, but this little machine made the world sit up and take notice. Debuting in the mid-1960s, the Bultaco Metralla came in 200cc and 250cc versions. Feather-light and nimble, it could dart through corners like it was on rails. Despite its small engine, it held its own against bigger bikes, and the power-to-weight ratio made it feel faster than it looked. Sleek lines and sharp angles added serious style, turning heads wherever it roared. Of course, brilliance comes with challenges. Parts were scarce, and dealer support was minimal. Maintenance demanded patience, resourcefulness, and a sharp eye for vintage components. But that scarcity only added to its allure and made collectors treasure it even more today. The Metralla wasn't just about speed, it proved Spain could compete with motorcycle giants. Lightweight agility emphasized precision, cornering skill, and handling finesse, showing that brains often beat brute force. For riders today, it's a reminder that engineering and skill outweigh raw horsepower. Small, smart, and well-designed machines can still dominate roads and thrill riders decades later. And while flair counts, refinement never goes out of style. Next up, a German masterpiece that made long rides feel like luxury. And effortless too. Number 8 is BMW R69S. Introduced in 1960, the BMW R69S quietly redefined what a touring motorcycle could be. Comfort, reliability, and sophistication weren't optional. They were built into every inch of this machine. Its 594 cubic centimeters boxer twin delivered smooth, steady power. Coupled with a shaft drive, it required minimal maintenance and gave riders around 42 horsepower of effortless cruising. Long distances suddenly felt enjoyable instead of exhausting. The styling was understated, almost elegant, contrasting with its engineering brilliance. It was expensive, and dealer networks were sparse, but that didn't stop enthusiasts. Every mile rewarded patience with a ride that felt both precise and luxurious. The R69S proved that motorcycles didn't have to be raw or crude to be thrilling. It showed the world that durability, refinement, and comfort could coexist with true performance. For modern riders, it's a masterclass in design. A well-engineered machine can outperform even faster bikes if it's built to inspire confidence, control, and joy. Comfort and polish are fine, but what if pure attitude and drag strip bravado got together? American Thunder answers that question loud and clear. Number 7 is Harley-Davidson Sportster XLCH. This wasn't your friendly neighborhood ride. It was a stripped-down, high-compression monster built to show off raw American power. At its core, it packed an 883 cubic centimeter Ironhead V-twin tuned for drag racing and pure acceleration. Every twist of the throttle shouted attitude. The engine didn't whisper. It howled, shaking everything in its path. Riders quickly realized speed came with consequences. It was loud, rough, and utterly uncompromising. Introduced in 1967, the XLCH became the poster child of Harley's rebellious spirit. Comfort was optional. Long rides tested endurance. Handling demanded respect. This bike wasn't for casual cruising or timid riders. It demanded commitment and skill. Yet, that's exactly what made it legendary. The XLCH symbolized American speed, grit, and swagger in a way few bikes could. It taught riders that motorcycles could be an extension of personality, raw and unapologetic. Today, it's a reminder that performance isn't always polite and that sometimes attitude matters as much as horsepower. Swagger is fun, but can elegance and everyday brilliance coexist? Number 6 is the Triumph Bonneville T120. Triumph had been building motorcycles since the early 1900s, but the Bonneville was a statement when it launched in 1961. Fast, stylish, and unmistakably British, it instantly stood out. Beneath its sleek tank and shiny chrome, it had a 650 cubic centimeter parallel twin engine. It produced around 46 horsepower, enough to hit 100 miles per hour. But what made it special wasn't just speed. It handled corners and city streets effortlessly. Its exhaust note announced your arrival before you even stopped. The Bonneville quickly became a cultural icon. Steve McQueen rode it on screen, and it appeared in films, magazines, and weekend races. Riding a T120 wasn't just about getting around. It was about freedom, style, and attitude. Of course, it had its quirks. Oil leaks, tricky electrics, and classic British reliability issues were part of the package. But for many riders, that added charm. The Triumph Bonneville T120 showed the world that motorcycles could be more than fast. They could have soul, character, and style. And decades later, it still turns heads and inspires riders everywhere. Style meets clever engineering, and suddenly, vibrations aren't your enemy. They're just part of the story of a legendary British innovator. In 5th place is Norton Commando. Norton was already a legend, but the Commando pushed the limits in the late 1960s. It wasn't just fast, it was clever engineering in motion. At the heart of the bike was a 750 cubic centimeter parallel twin. It produced around 58 horsepower, enough to feel thrilling on straight roads and twisty corners. But the real magic was the ice-elastic frame. Norton engineers mounted the engine and transmission on rubber bushings. That reduced vibration dramatically. For riders, it meant smoother long rides and less numb hands and feet. Handling was precise. The Commando could take corners at speeds most bikes wouldn't dare. Styling matched its performance. Classic British elegance, with clean lines and a purposeful stance. Of course, it wasn't perfect. It still had classic British reliability quirks. Oil leaks and electrical headaches cropped up occasionally. But for those who rode it well, it didn't matter. The Commando showed the world what British motorcycles could do before the Japanese swept in. Fast, agile, and full of character, it became one of the most desirable motorcycles of its era. Even today, it's a benchmark for performance and style. Number 4 is the Honda CB77 Superhawk. It was small but mighty. Riders loved its combination of reliability and performance. The engine was a 305 cubic centimeter OHC parallel twin, producing 28 horsepower, enough to handle highways confidently, yet light enough to feel agile in traffic. This balance made it perfect for riders who wanted speed without fuss. Engineering was precise. Every part felt purposeful. The bike's sleek design wasn't just for looks. It reduced wind resistance and added to its overall performance. Even decades later, its lines still impress enthusiasts. Owners knew it was more than a machine. It became a cultural touchstone, tied to books like Zen and the Art of Motorcycle Maintenance. That association highlighted the harmony between mechanics, mindfulness, and the joy of riding. Its significance is clear. The CB77 laid the groundwork for Honda's future sport bikes, proving that small, smart engineering could outperform raw power alone. All of this innovation first hit the roads in 1961, marking a turning point in the world of motorcycles. The CB77 was compact, clever, and unforgettable. From smart to dangerously fast. Hold on tight, because one machine earned a nickname that perfectly described how it demanded respect on every twisty road. Number 3 is Kawasaki H1. Known as the Widowmaker, the Kawasaki H1 was a bike that demanded respect. Its 500cc two-stroke triple-packed 60 horsepower, a figure that shocked riders in the late 60s. This bike didn't ease you in. It grabbed your wrist and threw you into raw speed. Acceleration was blistering. A quarter mile in under 13 seconds made other bikes look sluggish, but the thrill came with a catch. Handling was twitchy, brakes were weak, and mistakes had consequences. Every ride required focus, skill, and nerves of steel. Yet, that danger was part of the appeal. Riders felt alive, connected to the road like never before. It wasn't just a motorcycle. It was a lesson in control, courage, and respect for power. The H1 also marked a turning point for Kawasaki. It established them as a serious performance brand, proving Japan could dominate not only reliability, but outright speed and innovation. Debuting in 1969, the H1 remains legendary. It reminds modern riders that engine size isn't everything. How you handle it defines the ride. Daring, lightning quick, and shockingly approachable, this next superstar changed the definition of what a modern superbike could even be. Number 2 is Honda CB750. Everything changed when the Honda CB750 rolled onto the streets in 1969. This bike wasn't just fast, it was revolutionary. Riders suddenly had a machine that was smooth, powerful, and reliable all at once. Under the tank, a 736 cubic centimeters inline 4 pumped out 67 horsepower. It wasn't just raw power, it was silky, controlled, and approachable. You could cruise the highways, attack twisty roads, or tour long distances without worry. Honda added a feature nobody else had dared, a front disc brake. Stopping power suddenly matched the bike's speed. Handling felt modern. Confidence soared. It was also affordable, opening the world of superbikes to everyday riders. This wasn't some exotic, untouchable machine. It was a game changer. People realized motorcycling could be fast, safe, and reliable all at once. The CB750 set a new benchmark. It defined the modern superbike, inspiring generations of engineers and riders. You didn't need decades of experience to enjoy speed and precision. Today, it's more than a bike. It's a statement. Motorcycling was never the same again. Skill, design, and innovation became king. Silk and precision meet pure adrenaline in the ultimate cafe racer. The final legend proves finesse often beats raw horsepower and leaves an unforgettable mark. Finally, number 1 is Velocette Thruxton. Speed had a name in Britain, and it was Velocette Thruxton. Built for riders who craved precision and adrenaline, it wasn't just a motorcycle, it was a statement. Between 1965 and 1971, the Thruxton roared to life with a 499 cubic centimeter single-cylinder engine, delivering about 41 horsepower. Not massive by today's standards, but the bike was light, nimble, and razor-sharp through corners. Every twist of the throttle reminded you why it earned the cafe racer legend. This wasn't a casual commuter. The Thruxton was tuned for endurance racing and real road performance. It evolved from Velocette's Venom, but the engineers pushed harder. Better handling, sharper power delivery, and more precision. Its racing pedigree was solidified in 1967 at the Isle of Man TT, where it won the production class. That victory wasn't just a trophy, it cemented Velocette's reputation for building fast, reliable, high-quality singles. Now, these machines are rare and highly collectible. Owning one is owning history. For modern riders, it teaches a lesson. Lightweight design, balance, and precise engineering often beat raw horsepower. The Thruxton proves finesse and skill still matter, even in a world obsessed with displacement and speed. Just when you thought the show was over, here comes a machine that turns pure speed into art. Big power, instant throttle, and adrenaline you can almost taste. Bonus, make LL 650 special. This bike screamed speed from the start, turning heads and leaving competitors in the dust. At 55 horsepower, hitting 7,500 RPM, it was the fastest standard motorcycle of the 1960s. The 10.5:1 compression ratio pushed the engine to its limits, while twin GP2 racing carburetors slurped fuel like a finely tuned race machine. Air cleaners? BSA ditched them completely, letting the engine breathe freely for maximum performance. But it wasn't just raw power. The A65S handled corners with surprising agility for a big British twin. Its chassis and suspension allowed riders to push harder without losing confidence. The throttle response was instantaneous. Every twist delivered pure adrenaline. Owning a Spitfire. Mark II demanded respect. Parts were scarce, and tuning required skill, but the reward was undeniable. You didn't just ride it. You felt every ounce of engineering and passion in your hands. In short, the 1966 BSA Spitfire Mk2 wasn't just fast. It defined what a high-performance standard bike could be, and still inspires awe among collectors and riders today. These 60s motorcycles aren't just machines. They're legends that still dominate modern roads. Raw power, timeless style, and engineering that thrills even today. Do you own a classic that can still take modern bikes to school? Share your stories and let us know if you ride with these legends.